When Maya, a young first-time mother, brings her newborn son Elijah into the world, she never imagines that within days, she'll be fighting not only for his life, but also for the truth. Admitted to what was supposed to be the best private maternity clinic in the city, Maya starts noticing small but unsettling irregularities: rushed checkups, cold nurses, a pediatrician who avoids eye contact. But she silences her instincts until the unimaginable happens. During a scheduled visiting hour, surrounded by the artificial calm of the neonatal ward, Elijah suddenly stops breathing in Maya's arms. Her scream pierces the sterile walls. As chaos erupts, she sees something that will haunt her forever: the doctor's hands trembling, frozen in place, instead of acting. From that moment on, Maya begins a descent into a web of negligence, institutional silence, and buried truths. With the system pushing back, and even her own family urging her to let it go, Maya must navigate grief, anger, and fear to uncover what really happened in that hospital, and why. What she finds is more disturbing than she ever imagined: a history of malpractice, a pattern of cover-ups, and a doctor hiding more than just incompetence. This is a story of maternal instinct, loss, and the fight for justice. A story where one woman's voice becomes the only weapon left to save others before it's too late. If you're watching this, I want to ask you something before anything else. Where are you from? And if you're a mother or ever loved a child so deeply it hurt, tell me in the comments, because I need to know I'm not alone in this. The day Elijah was born, it was raining so softly it felt like the sky was exhaling. I remember that sound through the hospital window, gentle, like a lullaby. He arrived 1 week early, a little small but perfect, his skin smelling of something I still can't describe. Maybe it was hope. Maybe it was fear. Maybe both. From the start, something felt off, not with him, with the place. The maternity ward had that polished quiet that isn't peace, just pressure. The nurses smiled without warmth, their shoes squeaked like whispers on the floor. And the pediatrician, Dr. Fonseca, he always looked like he was late to something. Always checking his watch, never quite looking me in the eye when I asked questions. But I was tired. Hormones, postpartum fog. Everyone told me to stop overthinking. "You're just anxious," my mother said on the phone. "Hospitals are like that. Just rest. You're lucky you can afford a private clinic." Lucky. That word kept echoing in my head when I woke up the second night to a strange silence. Not quiet. Silence. Elijah wasn't crying. I leaned over to check on him in the clear hospital bassinet, heart already racing. And he was fine. Sleeping. Breathing. I told myself I was paranoid. Still, I pressed the call button just to be sure. A nurse came. Rolled her eyes, yes, actually rolled her eyes, and said, "First-time moms always panic. He's healthy. Go back to sleep." And I did. Against every instinct in my bones, I did. By the 4th day, visiting hours started. My partner Lucas came by with balloons and a clumsy grin. He was trying, but he never looked fully comfortable holding Elijah. His hands were stiff, like he was afraid to break him. I tried not to judge. Love doesn't always come naturally. At 3:40 p.m., I remember the exact time, because I was texting my sister a photo of Elijah in his little bear onesie. Lucas went to grab us some coffee from the cafeteria. The room was quiet again, just me and my baby. I was holding him in my arms, humming a song I didn't know I remembered. Something my own mother used to sing, maybe. And then, it happened. 1 second, he was warm, heavy and warm and perfect. The next, he wasn't. His tiny fingers went limp, his skin pale. His lips turned a shade I'd never seen before. Not purple, not blue, something in between. And for a moment, the world cracked open inside my chest. "Elijah?" I shook him. "Elijah." No cry, no breath. I screamed. Loud. Animal. My throat tore. The door burst open. Nurses rushed in. One of them grabbed Elijah and ran. I followed, screaming, barefoot down the corridor. That's when I saw Dr. Fonseca. He stood at the end of the hallway, already there, as if he'd been waiting. He looked at Elijah in the nurse's arms. And then, I swear, I saw his hands tremble. Not from urgency, not from action, from something else. He didn't move. He just froze, while my baby wasn't breathing. And in that instant, I knew. Something was very, very wrong. I didn't know it was possible to feel suspended inside your own body, like your soul is lagging behind. But that's what happened the moment they took Elijah from me. The hallway seemed endless. My bare feet slapped against the cold floor, each step louder than the last. Nurses shouted codes I didn't understand. One of them tried to block me from entering the emergency resuscitation room, but I pushed past her. I didn't care about rules. My baby wasn't breathing. The walls were too white. The machines too loud. I stood there shaking, watching as they laid him on a table and began the motions. Oxygen mask, compressions, injections. I kept waiting for someone to say it was all a precaution, that he was okay, that I'd overreacted again. But no one said anything. Then, finally, a tiny cough, a twitch, a sound so small I almost missed it, but I didn't. Elijah had returned, weakly, slowly, but he was back. I sank to the floor, sobbing. Relief cracked my ribs wide open. The nurse next to me whispered something like, "It's over now. He's lucky." There was that word again. Lucky. But what kind of lucky baby stops breathing for no reason in a private hospital with around-the-clock care? When Dr. Fonseca finally entered the room, yes, he waited until Elijah had stabilized. I stood up. What happened? Why did he stop breathing? He didn't answer right away, just stared at my son, still pale, still gasping gently like someone waking from a nightmare. Then he said flatly, "It could be a reaction. Maybe a temporary apnea. These things happen." "These things happen?" I repeated, my voice rising. He turned blue in my arms. "You weren't even—" "Mothers tend to exaggerate under stress," he interrupted, eyes not meeting mine. "He's fine now." That sentence, "he's fine now," felt like a command, not a comfort. Like he was daring me to stop digging. I should have insisted. I should have screamed until they ran every test known to science. But I didn't. I was alone, exhausted, and terrified of being labeled hysterical. And when Lucas returned with coffee and saw me in that state, he looked more annoyed than alarmed. "You probably just panicked," he said. "They know what they're doing." But did they? That night, Elijah was moved to the neonatal observation wing just to be sure. I wasn't allowed to sleep next to him. They said it was protocol. So I stood outside the glass wall, watching him in that tiny bed hooked up to machines. He was so still, so quiet. And Dr. Fonseca? He didn't come back. Not that night. Not the next morning. Instead, a young nurse, I think her name was Clara, came to give me updates. She looked nervous, like she was trying to remember a script. She told me Elijah had likely suffered a brief respiratory pause due to a mild reaction to formula. I froze. He's been breastfeeding exclusively. I never gave him formula. She blinked. That's what's written in the report. A coldness spread through my spine. Let me see the report. She hesitated. I'm not authorized to. Then call someone who is. But no one came. And the next day, Dr. Fonseca's office told me he was on leave for 2 days. Convenient, wasn't it? Still, I wasn't ready to face what I knew deep down. It was easier to believe the nightmare had passed. Elijah was stable again. I held him, fed him, watched his chest rise and fall. Until the next morning, when I overheard a conversation in the hallway. 2 staff members. They didn't see me behind the door. Should have called the pediatric emergency team sooner. Dr. Fonseca didn't authorize it. Again? That word. Again. I stepped out and they fell silent. One of them, an older nurse, rushed away. The other just looked at me, eyes wide. "How many times has this happened?" I asked her. She didn't answer, so I asked louder. And when she finally opened her mouth, her voice was barely audible. "Not the first baby this month. You ever have that moment when you know, deep in your gut, that you're not crazy, and the only reason people call you paranoid is because they're afraid of what you might find? That's what happened to me after I heard the nurse say it wasn't the first baby that month. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the stiff visitor chair beside Elijah's bassinet, staring at the monitors, the IV line taped to his tiny hand, the rise and fall of his chest. Every now and then, I'd check his breathing. Again. And again. I was afraid to blink. At dawn, I went looking for that nurse. She was gone. When I asked about her, they said no one by that name was on shift. I described her face, her voice, the conversation. I was met with blank stares and shrugs. One staff member even smiled awkwardly and said, "You must have dreamt it. Stress does strange things." They wanted me to feel insane. But I wasn't. I was starting to remember every little red flag I had ignored, like how they discouraged skin-to-skin contact the first day, how they logged formula feeding in his chart when I'd been exclusively breastfeeding, how Dr. Fonseca had hesitated when I asked about Elijah's vitals. So I started watching, listening. Hospitals are full of codes. Doors with key cards, papers hidden behind counters, but they're also full of humans. And humans talk. You just have to know when not to blink. 3 days after Elijah stopped breathing, while walking the hallway outside the neonatal wing, I heard 2 young nurses talking behind a partially open supply closet door. "I told you," one of them said. "He keeps delaying diagnosis to avoid reporting adverse events. It's not the first time." What about the baby that died last month?" "Still under review." "But you didn't hear that from me." They went silent when I passed. I kept walking, calm on the outside, wildfire inside. I knew then I had to find the records. I waited until late that evening, when the wing was quiet. I knew Clara's shift ended at 11, and I'd noticed earlier that she always left the file cabinet in the nurse's station slightly ajar. Just enough. I walked in like I belonged there. The files were coded by number, not names, but I knew Elijah's ID, 24607. I found his chart first, skimmed through until I saw it. Note: formula reaction suspected. Incident recorded as minor apnea. No emergency team activated. MD, Fonseca, L. And then, 2 entries before Elijah's. Patient 24603. Neonatal distress. Died within 24 hours. No autopsy requested. Family transferred to another facility. MD, Fonseca, L. I couldn't breathe. I dug deeper. 3 more infants with recorded respiratory incidents. All in the same month. All under Dr. Fonseca. Why hadn't anyone said anything? I snapped a photo with my phone, hands shaking, adrenaline pounding. But as I turned to leave, I heard a sound. A cough. I froze. A man stepped into the hallway. Not a nurse, not in scrubs, security. He looked at me, then at the open file cabinet. "Lost?" he asked, voice tight. I smiled. "Just looking for the restroom." He didn't believe me. I could tell. But he didn't stop me either. He just watched as I walked away. I got back to my room and locked the door behind me. My heart was beating out of sync with time. Lucas came by the next morning. I told him everything. His response? "Maybe you're looking for something that's not there." I stared at him. "Babies have died, Lucas. There are records. I saw them. You're exhausted. You're grieving. People make mistakes. Doctors make mistakes." "That's not a mistake," I said. "It's a pattern." But he was already leaning back, folding his arms, putting up that wall he always did when things got uncomfortable. And that's when I realized he didn't believe me. Or worse, he didn't want to. That evening, I got a call on the room phone. No caller ID, just one voice. "Stop digging, Ms. Moreira. Focus on your baby. Let the past go." Click. I sat by the window of the hospital room that night. Elijah curled on my chest, his breath shallow but steady. I watched the rain roll down the glass like it was trying to wash away what had happened here, but I couldn't let it be washed away. Not now. Someone knew I'd seen the records. That phone call wasn't just a threat. It was proof I wasn't imagining things. And that meant something even worse. They weren't just hiding negligence. They were hiding death. I started documenting everything. Every shift change, every note in Elijah's chart, every nurse who avoided eye contact. I sent the photos of the records to a secure email I created just for this. I even started recording audio, quietly, on my phone, anytime a doctor or administrator entered the room. And I began reaching out. First, I contacted the family listed in patient 24603's file. I had to go through social media, forums, parent groups. It took hours. But I found them. Or rather, her, Luciana. Her baby boy had died just 3 weeks before Elijah's episode. She had left a message in a support group for grieving mothers. Her words were raw and fractured. She mentioned the same hospital, the same floor, the same doctor. I sent her a private message. She didn't respond at first, not for hours. But then, just after midnight, she called me. Her voice was shaking. I thought I was the only one, she said. They told me it was a rare complication. They cremated him the next day. No one even suggested an autopsy. Her baby had stopped breathing during a routine checkup. They said he had a heart murmur that hadn't been detected earlier, but Luciana swore he was fine. She'd even recorded a video of him giggling that morning. She cried as she spoke. I cried too, but something stronger than grief rose in me that night. Rage. I asked if she'd go public with me. She hesitated. They'll destroy me, she said. They already made me feel like I was crazy, like I killed him. I understood that fear, but I wasn't backing down. The next day, I scheduled a meeting with the hospital director. I told Lucas I wanted answers. He didn't come with me. I don't think you're helping Elijah by doing this, he said. You should be focused on him, not on some conspiracy. I went alone. The director's office was pristine. Leather chairs, a sleek desk, soft music playing from some hidden speaker. He smiled too much, offered me water, then pretended to have no idea what I was talking about. I'm sorry, but medical incidents are private matters. I can't discuss other patients. And I assure you, Dr. Fonseca is a respected member of our team. Then why is he on leave? Scheduled vacation. I slid my phone across the desk. The photos, the chart entries, the pattern. His smile faltered. These documents were accessed without authorization, he said. You've violated hospital policy. I leaned forward. Babies are dying. He didn't deny it. He didn't confirm it either. He just stared at me with that bureaucratic calm and said, You need to think carefully about how you proceed. That night, when I returned to my room, Elijah was gone. His bassinet was empty. I screamed, panic flooding every cell in my body, thinking the worst. A nurse rushed in. He's in radiology, she said quickly. Dr. Fonseca requested an urgent scan. What do you mean, Dr. Fonseca? He's on leave. But she was already gone. I ran to the radiology wing, barefoot again, hair wild, heart shattering in my chest. And there, through the glass, I saw him. Dr. Fonseca, standing over Elijah, holding something. He turned. Our eyes met, and he smiled. Have you ever seen someone's face, really seen it, and known they expected you to break? That was Dr. Fonseca when he turned and saw me through the glass of the radiology room. He smiled like a man who thought he still had control, like a man who had gotten away with worse. I barged through the doors before anyone could stop me. My voice was hoarse from screaming Elijah's name, and my body moved faster than my mind. The technician shouted at me to leave the sterile area, but I didn't care. My son was strapped to a machine he didn't need, in the hands of the same man who froze when he stopped breathing. What are you doing with him? I demanded. Dr. Fonseca's calm cracked for the first time. He was showing signs of cranial swelling, he said too quickly. It's standard. He was stable. He was cleared yesterday for discharge. Behind me, 2 security guards had started down the corridor. I didn't have much time. I turned to the technician. Do you have an order signed by pediatric neurology? He looked stunned. He didn't. You're running unauthorized scans on an infant without parental consent, I said, louder now for everyone to hear. Call the police. Fonseca tried to stop me, reached for my arm, but I pulled away and lifted Elijah into my arms. He was scared, breathing fast but alive, and I held him to my chest like armor. That night, I filed a police report. I submitted the medical photos, the recordings. Luciana agreed to speak to investigators. Within 48 hours, 2 more families came forward. One of them had buried their daughter just months before. No one had ever asked questions. Until now. The media got involved next. A local journalist picked up the thread and followed it all the way back to a suppressed malpractice settlement from 3 years earlier. Dr. Fonseca had been quietly relocated after a similar incident. Never fired, just transferred. The hospital denied everything. Then they went silent. But the investigation moved forward. It took months. Depositions, court motions, threats, sleepless nights. Lucas left. Said he couldn't live under constant attack. I didn't stop him. I think, in a strange way, I'd already left him the moment he stopped believing me. But do you know what happened in the end? Fonseca lost his license. He was charged with criminal negligence and obstruction. The hospital paid damages, and more importantly, They were forced to overhaul their entire neonatal protocol. New staff, new training, new accountability. They shut down the wing for 3 months. And Elijah? He's 2 now. He runs through the house with the same wild energy I once feared I'd never see. He laughs like he's made of sunlight, and I still watch his chest rise and fall when he sleeps. I don't know if I'll ever stop, but I'm not afraid anymore. Because I spoke, and because you're listening now. If you're watching this and something inside you is screaming that something isn't right, listen to it. You're not crazy. You're not dramatic. You're not just tired. You're right to feel it. Hospitals don't always heal, and doctors don't always help. But silence never saves anyone. So talk, scream, share your story. And if you've ever lived through something similar, or if you've lost a child and no one believed you, please leave your story in the comments. We can't change the past, but maybe together we can protect someone else's future. Let the comment section be a place where the silenced are finally heard.